What's up, Internet? Now that the location test for Tag 2 is over, and Super Arcade has packed up the board and sent it back to Namco of Japan, a lot of people are wondering what my thoughts are on the game and how the game is, because a lot of people haven't had the opportunity to play it. We were very lucky in Southern California to actually get two locations within 3 miles that got a cabinet, which I think honestly was kind of preposterous. And I don't want to get into the politics involved with why the location tests were where they were and all that stuff. But I'm more concerned with the game as of right now. So I guess there's good news, there's bad news, and then there's kind of worse news. So first of all, I'll talk about what I really like about the game. Actually, I got to play it a lot. Probably I played it just about more than everybody in Southern California. I think Kane might have played it a little more than I did, and maybe MYK, but I'm not sure. Towards the end, he stopped playing a little bit. But the game itself is really good. If you're a Tekken fan, specifically a fan of Tekken 6, I think you will love the game. It is extremely fun. There is a lot in it. There's a lot to explore. The tag function is really deep. It's a lot deeper than what it appears. Like, initially you play the game and it feels a lot like Tekken 6, but there's a lot to discover there. There's a lot of combo diversity. There's a lot of ways to use tag to, like, kind of as a new tool to evade attacks. It's just really cool. The balcony breaks provide for some really cool combos. Just tag throws and all the matchups and different team synergy you can come up with is really, really fun and deep. It feels like you could play it for a long time and still not discover everything. I feel like graphically it's amazing, and I think that the demo version on PS3 does not do it any justice. The arcade version just looks incredible. Like Marduk's like nipples, you could see like nipple hair on Marduk. It's amazing, and like the graphics are really good. Just the game in general, if you are a fan of Tekken 6, is really good. Now, the problem is that is if you're a kind of like a general fan of Tekken 6, but you're not too competitive. One issue that I don't like about the gameplay of Tag 2 is that the red health regenerates very slowly. So what that means is that tag assault combos, which take away your own red health, at first we thought that, since they take away your red health, maybe they're not going to be worth doing because there's a sacrifice there. However, that is not the case, because red health regenerates so slowly that it's much more valuable to get that huge damage. And at this point, and this is only a couple months into the game, there is some pretty ridiculous damage. I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of just Kane pulling off like 65% between Ogre and Jack, or Lily and Alyssa, or Kazuya and Heihachi, or Heihachi and Bruce, or, there's some teams, or, Lars, or Leo. And of course, we're not even taking into account the Horang unblockable bug, or whatever it is. That, if that doesn't get removed from the game is completely ridiculously broken, because Horang by himself is a very, very, totally improved. He is a really, really good character. But if you add that into his game, essentially, if you're a competitive player, there's no reason not to pick him, because you are sacrificing literally 30% off of all of your juggles. Instead of, getting max damage, you're going to be getting partial damage all the time, which is really bad. So, assuming they fix Horang, there's still, some really, really high damaging juggles. And because of that, and because red health is not as valuable as people initially thought it would be, it almost becomes a situation where the gameplay itself is closer to Tekken 6.0 than Tekken 6 BR. And the reason I say that is because in 6.0 the jungle damage was very, very high, and the damage on standing normal attacks in relation to that was relatively low. So when you're formulating a strategy, it almost was pointless to take the risk of sticking out a poke when you could take the risk of sticking out a launcher. Now, in this game, I did mention that red health regenerates relatively slowly. So it does not regenerate fast enough to which it would recover the damage of a full combo. However, it does regenerate fast enough to recover the damage of, let's say, a 12 frame or 10 frame Punisher. What this ends up doing is it ends up, in some cases, in many cases actually, making launchers safe in a sense. Excuse me. For example, if a match starts and the first thing I want to do is hit you with a hop kick, if I do a hop kick and you block it, it's minus 12. So you're going to punish me with a 12 frame Punisher. Eventually, when I tag that character out, that red health will regenerate fast enough to make up for the damage you did in that 12 frame Punisher. What this does is it essentially makes hop kicks semi-safe, or launchers semi-safe. So how does that change the overall strategy of the game? What that does is it gives you much more incentive to do a launcher over doing a regular poke. The damage is so high, the reward is so high, and the risk went from 12 frame punishes in Tekken 6 to almost less than that, because you can regenerate that life back if you have good defense and you tag out. Because of this, the game becomes very turtly. The risk involved with poking is very high because you're going to get launched by either a hop kick or a sidestep or something else. You just want to take as little risk as possible, of course, as you would in any game. But what the incentive for doing pokes is less now than it was in Bloodline Rebellion. And what that ends up doing is it makes a game that's very defensive. Now, Tekken has always been a defensive game, but this one especially feels defensive because pokes are less valuable. So at this juncture, I feel like the game, there's a lot of time-up finishes, which is to be anticipated, I suppose, but I was hoping that that wouldn't be the case. But it's ironic because there's so many time-up finishes, yet your intuition would tell you that the way to solve that problem is to give launchers more damage, and that's already the case. So that's not a good solution. So as of right now, the game plays a lot like 6.0 in that there's a lot of risk to throwing out regular moves, and it's much smarter to throw out launchers for two reasons. Because you can do so much damage with a launcher now, and secondarily because even if your launcher is blocked, you can potentially regenerate the punish that the opponent did for that launcher. So the risk reward involved in launching an opponent has become pretty advantageous for the person doing the launcher. Now, that in itself is kind of the con in the game. Like, that's what I don't like about the game. But that's still not that big of a deal. I mean, it's still a fun Tekken. It's still really enjoyable. It just changes the way the game is played at a high level. It just altered it a little bit. The real reason why I personally, as a player, am a little bit disappointed about the game is because the problems with Tekken 6 were that it only appealed to a very small demographic, and that was people who enjoyed Tekken 6. People who were Tekken fans, like from Tekken Tag 1 or Tekken DR, they were not happy with the game because of wall carries, because of combo damage, and because of the crush system. Now, all those complaints have been amplified in this game. Therefore, all those people that didn't like Tekken 6 will like Tekken Tag 2 even less. Like those old school Tekken players will like it even less. Because combo damage is higher, the crush system still exists and it's amplified because launchers do more damage, and because wall carries, characters that could not wall carry before now wall carry in a like very effective way because of tag assault. So even though the stages are slightly bigger, you make up for it tenfold with the better wall carries that you have with if you have the right team synergy. Excuse me. So that is one group of people that did not like Tekken 6, and unfortunately, I feel like will not like Tekken Tag 2. The other group of people that did not like Tekken 6 were people that play other games and are just not interested in Tekken 6, like Street Fighter players or players of any other game. Unfortunately, Tekken 6 does have a little bit more appeal when it comes to aesthetic appeal, but the game itself is just as difficult as it has ever been. The barrier for entry for Tekken Tag 2 is even higher than it was in Tekken 6 BR. Combos are more difficult to execute, movement is just as difficult as ever, and there are more characters than there were in Tekken 6. Therefore, there is more information you need to know to be a top level player, as in how unsafe everything is, what direction everything tracks in, everything. You need to know everything in order to be successful in this game. And that is very discouraging for new players to enter the game on a competitive level and want to play. Now, the problem with this is the game is, at this point, I feel stagnant. The community is stagnant. The same people are winning. There are no new players that are entering as serious competitive level players, and the top players that exist are beginning to dwindle away and play less. Now, my fear is that Tekken, because it is not being changed in a way that is more inviting for newer players, I am afraid that, at least in America, the Tekken series will go the route of the Virtua Fighter series, in which, as of Tekken 6 BR, Tekken was just barely grasping onto the status of a mainstream fighting game. I mean, barely. It was at MLG, but, it's just the Tekken series. A lot of people don't like to watch Tekken. A lot of people don't want to play Tekken. And most of that, I do admit, is through ignorance. A lot of people think that Tekken is just like a juggle fest and like a mash-friendly game, and you don't really need, it's not deep, it's not complicated or, complex. And that's completely, horseshit. But those people that are idiots and they don't know what they're talking about, regardless of their stupidity, we still want them to play Tekken. We want everyone to play Tekken. We want as many people to be interested in Tekken as possible. And unfortunately, I feel like Tekken Tag Tournament 2 is not going in the direction to help the series grow. It's just staying stagnant. The same people who are good at Tekken 6 BR will be good at Tekken Tag 2, and the same people who are struggling in Tekken 6 BR to get better will struggle in this game as well. And, this is kind of, I do admit that I have changed over the years, and many years ago I would say that there is no reason to compromise the integrity of Tekken. Tekken is a really cool game, it's really complex, and it takes years to master simple things like movement. And I do still appreciate that, and I think that that's very unique. It's a unique aspect in the series. However, what good is it mastering something that you can only use against 5 people in your local region? I think that's kind of gay. So I would like for the series to maybe change in some way. I don't know exactly what the best solution is, but as of right now, Tekken Tag Tournament 2 is a very, very fun and good Tekken game, but I don't know how good it is for the future of the franchise. I'm concerned with the game's popularity, and I'm concerned with people coming into the series, or at least the lack thereof, of new players coming into the series on a competitive level. But I have to go back to the beginning of this review and say that as a Tekken 6 fan, and as if I were not someone who was concerned with the community, if I was just, interested in playing the game, and really I love Tekken, Tekken Tag Tournament 2 is a really cool game. It's really fun. I mean, you could sit there and play it for hours and just discover new things with a simple single launcher. You could discover all these new options, and there's so much depth to the game that it's really, really fun. I think the only real problem is that I'm worried that if that game were to come out, let's say in arcades today or on console today, I'm going to end up being stuck playing the same 5 top players from my local region, and no one new is ever going to play the game. And, you know, personally, I don't want to relive the last 3 years of my life over again. I want to try new things and meet new people and, you know, play a new game, essentially. So, you know, it's kind of bittersweet, but I'm really looking forward to console release. I'm really looking forward to there being a really robust practice mode. And word on the street is Soul Calibur 5 has a really, really good practice mode, and hopefully the Tekken series will, you know, learn from that, and they'll add a good practice mode to the game. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know how I feel about Tag 2 as of the arcade release. And do me a solid, subscribe to this channel, and I'll catch you guys later.